Come with us to Edinburgh as we show you how many amazing things you could see here in just a single day. In just 12 hours, we will ride narrated bus tours around the city, visit the National Museum, walk along iconic Victoria Street, tour incredible Edinburgh Castle,
visit the gorgeous Royal Botanical Garden, head to the coast to see the Royal Yacht Britannia, have a hearty dinner of traditional steak pie, and catch a view of Edinburgh Castle after dark. You'll be amazed at how much you can do in just one day in Edinburgh. All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Our day began shortly after 9 a.m. with an incredible view of the Scott Monument from the upper deck of our hop-on, hop-off tour bus with Edinburgh Bus Tours. The Scott Monument was built in honor of the Scottish novelist, poet, historian, and biographer Sir Walter Scott, who was born in Edinburgh in 1771. These tour buses were the key to experiencing as much as possible during our short stay in Edinburgh. It's a narrated tour, so while we were traveling between places, we were learning about the history of the city at the same time. You can purchase a 24 or 48-hour ticket that allows unlimited access to 3 different tour routes. We started our morning in the New Town section of the city, built mostly between the mid-1700s to the mid-1800s, and then as we entered the Old Town, we passed by the Palace of Holyrood House, the King's official residence in Edinburgh. We also passed by Holyrood Park, where the ancient volcanic site Arthur's Seat is located. We climbed to the top of that peak in our last Scotland episode, so check out that video, linked in the description if you haven't seen it already.
The Old Town section of Edinburgh dates back to medieval times, referred to as a living museum of Edinburgh's rich history. This tour brought us along the Royal Mile, the main route stretching a Scots mile, which is about 1.12 standard English miles, from the palace at Holyrood House to Edinburgh Castle. This morning we are making our way over to the National Museum of Scotland. We didn't have a lot of time for the museum, but we were excited about seeing one of its famous residents. Dolly the sheep was the first mammal ever cloned from an adult cell, and this pioneering work was done at the Roslin Institute near Edinburgh. I am a scientist, so I was excited to pose for a photo with the famous Dolly. We had some time to briefly walk through some other parts of the museum, so we headed over to the natural history section. The skeleton of a giant deer guarded the entrance, and then we were greeted by the full skeleton of a T-Rex. We have always loved natural history museums, and here they have quite an impressive collection of animals and skeletons from both extinct and modern-day creatures.
We will be back to spend more time at the museum during a future trip to Edinburgh, but we still have many more things to see on this exciting day. Interestingly, there are Harry Potter themed shops in various parts of the city, because these books were written primarily in Edinburgh. From the museum, we walked over to the famous Victoria Street, which is a beautifully curved street leading to Grassmarket and Edinburgh Castle, with many great shops and beautiful architecture. Part of its fame comes from the theory that it was one of the locations that inspired scenes in the Harry Potter series. Let us know in the comments if you think this street looks a bit like Diagon Alley in the Harry Potter movies. Walking along this street does conjure up feelings of magic and mystery, and that put us in the mood to walk into a Harry Potter themed shop to see what curiosities we could find. They had all the latest Hogwarts apparel in this shop, as well as replicas of the wands of all the main characters. This is a place that any Harry Potter fan will certainly love visiting. But even if you're not a Harry Potter fan, Victoria Street is beautiful, historic, and will make you feel like you've either stepped into a movie scene or a bustling medieval town of long past. Just at the end of Victoria Street, on our way to Edinburgh Castle, we found a delightful restaurant called Hula, and it looked like a great place to get a light lunch before heading up to the castle. We started with some nice warm beverages. I had the matcha tea, and Scott had Scottish breakfast tea, of course. I went healthy with some nice avocado toast, while Scott decided to indulge with the apple crisp pancakes.
Heading up to the castle from here required walking up a couple of long staircases because the castle is on top of an extinct volcano, now called Castle Rock. If you want to visit Edinburgh Castle, it is important to purchase tickets as far in advance as possible. Tickets are released on a rolling basis and often sell out far in advance, especially during the busy summer months. We are here in early May, and it's not as busy as it will be later in the summer. April and May are generally the driest and sunniest months in Scotland, so it's a great time to visit. At over 35,000 square meters, Edinburgh Castle is the largest castle in Scotland. From many parts of Edinburgh, you can easily see the castle perched majestically on Castle Rock, watching over Edinburgh. But when you climb up to the castle and look down over the city, it is easy to see why the fortress is strategically placed here. The castle was built in parts over several centuries, but the oldest surviving building here is St. Margaret's Chapel, built around 1130 AD by King David I. Although the location of the castle and its thick rock walls provide formidable protection, the castle has changed hands many times throughout history during various battles and sieges. The last monarch to live at the castle was Charles I in 1633, who was already king at the time, but his formal coronation was later that year. The last threats to the castle were in the 1700s during the Jacobite rebellions, when they took the palace at Holyrood House, but they were unable to take Edinburgh Castle. The central courtyard in the castle is called Crown Square, and this is where the royal palace is located, along with a prominent historic clock tower that overlooks the courtyard.
Some of the most interesting views are through the cannon portholes. This one overlooks Arthur's Seat, the volcanic mountain in Holyrood Park that we climbed in our last Scotland video. Standing on top of the highest wall of the castle, looking out over the new town section of the city, we can see all the way beyond the Firth of Forth, the water inlet from the North Sea that leads to the River Forth. Finally, one of our last stops inside the castle was at the oldest surviving building in Edinburgh, St. Margaret's Chapel. It's been standing right here for nearly 900 years. After a fantastic time exploring Edinburgh Castle, we exited the castle grounds to a bit of entertainment at the top of the Royal Mile. Then we walked down the upper section of the Royal Mile, then headed over to Newtown to catch a different bus route to the north side of the city. Looking at the bus route map for Edinburgh bus tours, we were starting here in the Old Town, wanted to briefly stop at our hotel over here in Newtown, and then walk over the Queensferry Bridge to get to bus stop number 3 along the blue route called the Regal Tour. This is the route that goes to the north side of the city, and next we plan to stop at and explore the Royal Botanic Gardens.
Looking down Melville Street, we had a brief but beautiful view of St. Mary's Episcopal Cathedral in the distance, before turning right along Queensferry Street and crossing the Queensferry Bridge. Once we were on the bus, it was a short ride to the west gate of the Royal Botanic Gardens, and we entered a spectacular atrium filled with plants and informational displays. There's also a lovely gift shop with plenty of things to buy for any plant lover. If you have followed some of our other travels, you know that we love botanical gardens and try to visit at least one garden on every trip. We were trying to pack as much into this day as we possibly could, so we didn't have as much time as we would have liked to see every corner of this park, but we did slow down for a while here and take in as much of the beauty as we possibly could. This visit to Edinburgh is kind of like our sample platter. We are trying to briefly see as much as we can so we can decide where we want to spend more time the next time we visit the city. Springtime is an amazing time to come here. The rhododendrons and azaleas were still in dazzling bloom. These are early spring bloomers, and we were happy to be here just at the right time to see them. All of the grass, trees, and foliage were bright green and gorgeous at this time as well, and it was amazingly peaceful walking along these quiet paths.
This garden has one of the largest and most diverse collections of rhododendrons in the world, so it was special to be here when they were in bloom. The peak of their bloom is late April to early May, and we were here on May 7th. If we had arrived just a week or two later, we might have missed this spectacular show. Of the 1,000 known species of rhododendrons, this garden has around 500, and this is a major location for rhododendron research in the world. There are rhododendrons throughout the park, but there is so much more to see here. We were quite mesmerized by this patch of purple and white flowers growing in the shade beneath a cluster of beautiful trees. Our last stop in the garden was at the Inverleaf House Gallery, where there was a quiet little pond in the back. And inside the house was a beautiful exhibition called Earth Matters, with art pieces celebrating the beauty and importance of the Earth's soil. For our last stop of the day, we planned to go to the north coast of Edinburgh to see the Royal Yacht Britannia, the luxury yacht that served the royal family for more than 44 years. It was a beautiful bus ride past the harbors of the northern shore to the bus stop at the ocean terminal where the yacht is docked. We arrived at the end of the day and didn't have time to go on board and tour the Britannia, but we were able to get a nice view of the ship docked in the harbor.
We also went inside and spoke to a very nice member of the crew who talked to us about the history of the ship and convinced us that we must take the full tour the next time we are in Edinburgh. We hopped back on the bus now to head back to the center of Edinburgh, but our day wasn't done yet. We had a long, pleasant ride on the top deck of our tour bus, listening to the audio tour while enjoying the beautiful scenery. One important thing that we learned about the tour buses is that the times of operation from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the spring and summer refer to when the buses leave the starting point, stop number 1. So even though it was past 6 p.m. when we left the yacht, we knew that a bus would be arriving soon to pick us up. They arrive every 10 to 20 minutes until the last full route is complete. Just before finishing our tour, we were treated to a beautiful view of Arthur's Seat in Holyrood Park, and then a gorgeous view of St. Andrew's House, the headquarters of the Scottish government. Finally, back in Newtown, near our hotel, we finished our wonderful day with a hearty steak pie at a restaurant and pub called Auld Hundred. And then, before heading to bed for the night, we walked over to Princess Street for one final view of Edinburgh Castle, stoically watching over the city below.
After our amazing time in Edinburgh, we are heading to the Scottish Highlands. Come along with us as we take a train from Edinburgh to Inverness, the capital of the Highlands. Do plenty of exploring and connecting with nature, visit with some of the local animal residents, and enjoy this wonderfully beautiful and peaceful place. See you in the next video.